Hello and welcome to Budget in Focus. With me in studio this afternoon is the Minister of Human Services and Social Security, Honorable Dr. Vindhya Persaud. Hello Minister, how are you?
I'm well, thank you, and thanks for having me on today's program so I can share some insight into the budget of Ministry of Human Services and Social Security.
Okay, Minister, thank you so much for being here. I know your ministry would deal directly with the people and the services to them. Let's talk a little bit about the budget allocations for your ministry.
As you rightly mentioned, the Ministry of Human Services and Social Security is people-centric, and it focuses primarily on vulnerable populations, the elderly or the senior citizens, children, women, persons with disabilities, and also other persons who find themselves in difficult circumstances. This year, the ministry's budget increased by $3.8 billion, and we have a total of $29.5 billion for the Ministry of Human Services and Social Security, which gives us a current figure of $26.2 billion and $3.5 billion for capital.
Okay, so tell us a little bit about the programs that will be rolled out under Budget 2021.
Well, there are a number of exciting programs, and then there's the continuation of programs that are traditionally done under the Ministry of Human Services and Social Security. Let me start with one that's perhaps very well known, and that is the pension. And we've seen an increase in the pension as of early in this year when pensioners begun to receive an increase in their pension from January 1. The pension was originally $20,500 and it has been increased to $25,000. And this puts at least $3 billion back in the pockets of our senior citizens, and this is increasing disposable income. They have more to spend, and the ministry is also working very dedicatedly to improve the delivery of services. We would have, in our manifesto, made a promise to the pensioners to improve the way in which the pension is paid, and we're working at perfecting the delivery of services, making it easier for pensioners, and also looking at the increase that was promised. In addition to pension, we also deal with public assistance. Now, this is a service that is open to all Guyanese. Unlike pension, which is not means tested, the public assistance is means tested. So you have public assistance being available to persons who have economic difficulty, medical issues, and then there are persons who suffer from disability, who have permanent and temporary disabilities. Again, there has been an increase of the figure, and we have seen it being the highest increase, 33.3% increase in public assistance, making it the most that it has been increased at any one point in time, taking that figure from $9,000 to $12,000, and again putting money back in the pockets of people. At least $500 million in disposable income will be placed in the pockets of persons. There has been heavy focus on two other populations, women and persons living with disability. Let me speak on the disability population first. And we have seen that disability will benefit in a number of ways. One of the initiatives that's coming directly out of this ministry is the construction of a complex that deals with training focused on persons living with various disabilities, people who are differently abled. That complex will be placed in the Mahaica Hospital compound, and $30 million would have been budgeted for a modern complex to focus on training, skills training, literacy. There's a space and a place where persons with disability can come, and then $120 million in addition to that has been earmarked for all the training and all the benefits and help that will be given to persons who are living with disabilities. We've also significantly helped the National Commission on Disability to the tune of $50 million. So I think we have seen a move in this direction in the sense that people with disabilities would not have had that focus before in the last 5 years, and we would have, through the ministry, had approaches by several of the groups that deal with disability, persons within the Deaf Association of Guyana. We have also had an interface with the Disability Commission of Guyana, and I understand the need that exists in this community for all the things that we are planning for them. So this is a very good and new initiative, and I think they will benefit in so many ways from this initiative. And a big thrust of the ministry is trying to let people understand that persons with disabilities may have special needs, but they also need to be integrated in society. So we need to not stigmatize them or not treat them any differently, but we need to ensure that there's equal pay when they are in the working world. So there's been a push very early when I got into the ministry to ensure that persons living with disabilities, they can have employment. So now moving in this direction with the construction of a disability complex, we are equipping them with the skills so that they can get into the working world.
So how soon can we see this program rolled out?
We have everything pretty much waiting for as soon as the budget is passed. And I know that we can count on the full support of the House because I think the House will not look at this as something that should be looked at in a partisan nature. I think it is something that is benefiting all the people of Guyana who live with disabilities, and it's long overdue. And if I also move from there to women, we have seen women benefiting too in the budget, and women would benefit in the area of training. $80 million would have been earmarked for training. And as you know, the ministry embarked on a very successful cottage industry initiative. We started with phase 1 of the accessories and garment initiative. We trained in excess of 100 persons from various regions in Guyana. They were involved in making face masks to supply the Ministry of Education and other entities. And thereafter, they were able to benefit financially from the face masks. But that's not the only thing. What they gained was training in a slew of areas, which included business literacy, micro-enterprise development, ensuring that whatever business they're embarking on is sustainable. And we also ensure that they benefited from counseling and information on social issues, the legislation and how it affects them. And from that, we were able to see 58 business proposals emerging from people who before would never have thought that this was a path they wanted to take. Interestingly enough, a number of these persons who were in that program can be considered to be living in violent circumstances, and that's something we have honed in on through the Ministry of Human Services and Social Security, and we want to expand this project. So we'll be continuing with the garment and cottage industry initiative. We'll be moving from face masks to reusable bags. You know, we're not going with single-use plastics in this modern era. We look at other areas like scrubs and how maybe they can supply other garments like drapes and surgical gowns or whatever the hospital uses, and they can come up with a variety of areas that they want to embark on going forward in the area of garment and accessories. But Guyana Women's Leadership Institute, I'm extremely passionate about that. Leadership and women, you know, go hand in hand. And I feel that this institute has been starved of attention for at least 5 years. And this is something I have always been advocating for on the floor when I was in opposition, saying that it needs attention. Well, now it's getting attention because there's going to be a state-of-the-art kitchen that's going to be developed at the Institute, and we are going to be equipping this kitchen with modern appliances, and a number of training programs will be within that kitchen area so people can get into various projects. We have just launched today a competition for street foods and looking at street tourism, and that's something you will hear about more, but that's just one project that will benefit from the training that comes out of Guyana Women's Leadership Institute. We'll also be encouraging people to start their own catering enterprises, looking at convenience food. There's so many things you can do with food, and the whole thrust of this is we are in a COVID-19 pandemic environment, and people are looking at dining very differently. People are looking at convenience. How can we pick up and go? People are looking at health and nutrition. So that will be the thrust of the training at the Guyana Women's Leadership Institute kitchen. But the training earmarked at $80 million will not only be in the area of food or garments and accessories. We're looking at other things, biodegradable wear, jewelry making, and we are also looking at a computer lab within the Guyana Women's Leadership Institute so that women can have non-traditional or unconventional types of employment, looking at modernizing and giving women equal access and opportunity to areas that perhaps they were not very much present in, things like video editing, graphic design, to name 2 areas. So it's really transforming not only the physical infrastructure at the Guyana Women's Leadership Institute, but changing the way in which women think and how they see themselves in a very modern era, in a very modern time, and in a time when our country is poised to deliver. So this is fulfilling our manifesto promise of delivering to various categories of persons in our country. And leadership is also important. So in that, We are encouraging women to be advocates, advocates against some of the ills in society, things like violence. We launched our 914 hotline. So coming off of that, we will roll out our Survivors Advocates program. This is a program that will complement that helpline that we're offering persons through 914, where they need counseling, they need support to get them to court, to make a report, whatever is required. And also through 914, people can access our various training programs. Our training programs can also be accessed on our website or Facebook page. But I want women across the country to see this as your time. See this as your time. See it as a time when you can have transformation of your life, when you can move from a state of dependence to a state of independence and resilience. And looking at it holistically is where we're aiming to move in terms of training women.
That's quite a lot, Minister, especially for women. Can you say how women can access this? I mean, I know you mentioned that you can access it through the 914 hotline and through the website, but what category of women are you trying to target with this?
Well, it's targeting all women, but I'm hoping the single parents, the single mothers will access this program. Hard copies of the application will be at all of our offices across the regions, and we are also looking at women who are in violent situations. The focus has been heavy in terms of the elimination of violence. We launched our campaign with the tagline, "Enough with the Violence," and that's exactly where we want to go with it. We want women to understand that, look, you are in a violent situation, and we're not only telling you to get out and get to safety, but we are also providing the social safety nets that are so needed, because lots of women stay in these kinds of environments because there's the sense of security and familiarity, even in the abusive situation. So no, when you come out, there's an option. You can get trained, you can get counseling, you can start your own business. We link them with the Small Business Bureau. We also link them with other investment opportunity, other seed fund opportunities. So it's not just training, it's taking them the whole distance of the journey to a point where they can say, we've done it.
Okay. You mentioned women affected by violence. I know $50 million would have been allocated in the budget to address these issues.
Well, we looked at $50 million for legal aid. And legal aid is one of the promises in the PPPC's manifesto, expansion of legal aid services. And we believe in that. We want women to have access to these services. And we want to ensure that the services are not only in a few regions. So we'll be working to utilize that $50 million to ensure not only that the services are in the region, but we have the human resource to be able to cater for some of these issues, because accessing legal services is an expensive thing, but legal aid can make a tangible impact in terms of giving women the support that they need, especially in violent circumstances. So as you can see, it's a very holistic picture that we are looking at through the ministry.
Okay. Sometimes women feel that they can only access these services on the coast, and some of them living in hinterland communities. How can they access or benefit from some of these programs?
Well, in terms of the training programs, it will be open to women on the coast as well as the hinterland. Just to let you know that the Guyana Women's Leadership Institute has a residential area, so we can actually bring women out. But the big push is to take a lot of the training to communities so that people can be in an environment where they're comfortable, but it's also being conscious of the COVID-19 pandemic. But all of the services, every one that the ministry is embarking on, will be accessible by all women, both on the coast and the hinterland, whether it is requiring us to bring them out or go into them to take the services or place the services in their community.
Okay. Minister, I want to take you a little bit back to the complex at Mahaica. Tell us a little bit more about it. You said that it will offer a range of training services, but how can a person living with disabilities access the services offered here?
First, we have to construct the complex, and then we will have the application process open, and we're not going to make it prohibitive. In other words, once any person feels that they want to constructively contribute to their community, to the society, and ultimately their country, and they feel that they want to access these skills, it's an open door policy. pretty much you come in. There's a register of persons with disabilities, first of all, through the National Disability Commission. So whatever programs we offer, we will also give that information to the Commission so that can filter out. We will work with all of the disability organizations that exist across the country, and we will widely publicize and advertise all the training opportunities that we are offering so that any person, and I mean any person, can benefit. As you know, each disability brings with it different challenges. So people who have mobility issues might want to benefit in some way. People who are visually impaired might look at something else that they can do. So it's working not in a sense where it's, you know, rigid. We are tailoring it to fit whatever the need is. And we will be consulting with those persons living with disability to give us an idea too of what they think are the things that they would most likely gravitate to. But it's also taking them to a point where whatever skills we give them, those skills should be marketable. Those skills will result in them receiving a certificate after the training program so that they're employable. So it's that kind of tangent that we're taking.
Okay, well, and what age range are we going to be looking at for these
I think once
persons?
they leave school, upwards.
Okay, and
Even if you have school dropouts, they can benefit
and
too.
it's the same thing for the women as well?
Absolutely.
Across the board.
Across the
Now,
board.
Minister, we started off by saying that your ministry is people-centric. Now, let's talk about how exactly this will benefit the wider population.
Well, we haven't even touched on children, but yes, it will benefit the wider population, because if you look at all of the measures, you can't look at them in a vacuum. Each measure adds up and adds on. If we look at the subsidy that we gave the pensioners, now we are having VAT off across the board, so everybody's going to benefit. In addition to those pensioners that would have benefited, 28,000 of them who are metered. So now you're having the population, once you're metered, you're going to benefit from VAT off. They're benefiting from a subsidy. Then you look at the zero-rated food items and the food basket. So what the entire budget is moving towards, whether you look at the construction of homes, or you're looking at the VAT off construction materials, or you're looking at food that does not attract VAT, or you're looking at data that doesn't attract VAT, and you see where I'm leading with this. Once you keep removing that collectible sort of mode that the previous government had, where people were burdened by taxes, that's where the economy was run from. This is the total opposite of it. This is where we are now relaxing and alleviating that kind of burdensome taxation that people had to suffer under, and we're putting money back in the pockets that will now eventually get into the economy through disposable income. So I think when you look at the budget holistically, you're looking at all of the different avenues that will benefit people across the board. And what I like about this budget is that it's not means tested. When you take off taxes, everybody who's going to benefit. When you're looking at a pension increase, old age pension that is, all pensioners, not means tested. When you're looking at what is not attracting VAT. Those are very, very crucial things to people's welfare. People would like to eat better. People are reeling from the impact of COVID-19. People would like to have access now with the grand housing program that is planned. They want their own home, they want the land, but then you want to ensure that you can afford to build it. So, you know, you're moving in that direction. If you want to embark on a business, you're looking at things like what concessions are available to you. So it's really the kind of budget that would have impacted on the average person, on the business community, on the seniors beyond the years of service, and $892 million will go to children. And we look at so many different things as it relates to children. We're tackling child abuse. We're looking at alternate forms of discipline. We're also looking at our response to pleas and cries for help. So, you know, we're empowering our caseworkers, ensuring that we have more vehicles so we can respond faster. We're looking at an alternative child care policy. We're looking at our early childhood development program. We're looking at expanding our child advocacy centers. We are looking at so many different programs. One that I'm particularly passionate about, and that is the parenting program, because, you know, lots of parents say, well, we do have difficulties with our children. COVID has put parents with children for lots of hours. Maybe in the beginning when they were babies, they enjoyed it, but then because of the realities of work and children at school, didn't spend a lot of time. Now they do. So now, unlike the teacher who has the maximum number of hours in contact with a child, a parent is. So how can we ensure that we reach out to parents through our parenting programs to make sure that, you know, yes, discipline is important. We want to make sure we're not in any way abusing our child. We want to make sure that children are properly taken care of, nutrition is looked at. So that's a big program that will be rolled out. So we have lots and lots of plans. And as you can see, the budget, as it is for specifically the Ministry of Human Services and Social Security, complements every other sector. Because whether you look at health or agriculture or education, it is looking at how the economy is galvanized, yes, after the impact of COVID, but it's also looking at how the people are taken care of. Whether you look at benefits for the farmers, whether you look at more health care access, or you look at more services for the senior citizens through the Ministry of Health, or whether you look at the vaccination. There's so many things that are giving back to people, and I think that's what people want to see in a budget. What am I getting? How am I benefiting? Because sometimes we tend to think only in the macro level where, you know, the big projects, but then people want to know how do they directly benefit. And I think there are lots of measures there that will add up at the end of the day. So the average man on the street will say, you know, my pocket's not empty. My pocket's not going towards 10 different things and I can't even save. And that would have been the cry for the last 5 years. It was hard. And I remember the Attorney General now saying that, you know, from man to beast was tax, and that is true. So we have moved away from that model, and we are moving back to the kind of considerate governance where people's needs are really catered for.
Okay, Minister, we have a few minutes left before we wrap up. Is there anything else you'd like to say on Budget 2021?
I would like people to listen to the debates if they would like to, that is. I know Parliament is quite lengthy. I'd like people to be very familiar with what measures are being given in the direction where they can benefit, so that they can benefit from these measures. You see, once people are familiar with what they're entitled to, then they can benefit, they can question. And I would also like people to utilize all the opportunities that will accrue from all of the measures that would have been presented in a very lengthy budget, and it's a very big budget. And I'd also want to see, purely from the Ministry of Human Services and Social Security standpoint, that people out there take the opportunities that we're offering, whether you're on an online platform, whether you want to access it in person, however, but please utilize the opportunities. It's there for you. We are here to serve. I am here to serve, and I'm committed to serving and serving as, you know, as is expected and beyond expectations, to ensure that our services from the ministry, they're efficient, they're effective, and they're systems. And of course, that when people feel in one way or another that maybe they couldn't access or there's a problem, that they can let us know so we can address it quickly. That's why we've come up with a help desk on Facebook, and that's why we are restructuring and reorganizing the ministry, which will be a big project this year, to make sure that the ministry can deliver in the way that it ought to. As we say, it's putting the human in the human services at the fore of what we want to do.
Okay, thank you so much, Minister. Thank you for your time today. This has been Budget in Focus. I'm Anara Khan. Thanks for watching.
Thank you.